difference. Right here on AWR SID Media, from broadcast to baptism.
Mr. Bauer van der Alms, I hope I said it correctly. He is an education advocate currently serving as South African homeschoolers, joining me this morning for a conversation where, listen, I just want to introduce homeschooling as an option for you in the year 2026 because education has become a real sport. Education has become a real sport. Parents have to make serious decisions considering both cons and pros about their children's education. And if you no longer want a mainstream system of education, what options do you have? And that's what we are going to be exploring together this morning with Mr. Bowie. Did I say your name correctly? Let's start there. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Millicent. It's Bauer. Yeah, I think you've got it.
Not too bad. Okay, awesome. Let's hit the ground running. Maybe someone is listening like, okay, what exactly is homeschooling firstly, and how is it different to mainstream education?
Okay, it's homeschooling. It's also known as home education in other countries. In essence, it's when education is under the control of the parents. That is the main differentiator. It is done mostly at home, but it can be done at other locations as well. Parents can send their children, take their children with them to their business or wherever. It's mostly done by parents, but parents can also use other people to assist with that, like family or friends, and do together with other parents, or make use of tutors. But in essence,
Okay.
it is a mere extension of what parents do from birth. When a child is born, you start with the education of that child. You learn that child to eat and drink and walk and talk and have good manners. And then you just continue with that and do more complex things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other question is, how is it different from mainstream education or school education? I think there are two important things. Is home education can be customized for each individual child. So you as a parent, you choose the education approach or the curriculum that is suitable for that child.
Okay.
Where a school, everybody's got to do the same curriculum. They can't customize anything for a child. The second thing is the child can progress at his own pace. So gifted children can progress faster, and children with learning disabilities, they can progress slower. While in the school, everybody has to progress at the same rate. And then lastly, if you don't always know, you as a parent, you always do not always make the right choices and maybe choose a curriculum that's not good for this for this child, and then you can change that. So you can change your curriculum in 8 minutes, while a school system will take 8 years to change a curriculum. So I think those are the main. It's customizable, progress at own pace, and easily changeable.
Oh wow! So where would the parents get the curriculums from? These options, where would they get it? Because you want to make sure that you do everything legally, so that you don't find yourself in trouble. I don't know, with the Department of Basic Education or whatever.
Okay, so to get curriculums is very easy. There's a multitude of curriculums available, especially with the internet. It's very easy. So in countries South Africa, there are education expos where you can see those people and talk to them. So that's easy. There's a vast choice. You do raise the question of what is it legally? Well, in South Africa, we recently had what we call the BELA Act, the Basic Education Law Amendments Act. And it attempts to place some restrictions on curriculum choice by stating that you must choose a curriculum of which the skills and contents are comparable to the national curriculum as determined by the minister. Those are the words of the law. The problem with those words is they are vague, because how are you going to compare one curriculum with another curriculum? There is no methodology available to determine whether a curriculum is comparable with another curriculum, with a state curriculum. So it's vague. And then secondly, it's also contradictory. So they say you must follow a curriculum which skills and content compare with the national curriculum statement. But then they also say you will be assessed against certain standards.
Okay.
But a standard is something different from skills and contents. A standard is the level at which you operate. So you can learn totally different skills and contents at a different at the same standard. If you're a, let's say, university, you study engineering, third year engineering, or you start third year sociology, totally different contents and skill, but they're all third year, the same standard. So the law contradicts itself by saying prescribing skills and contents and doing assessments by means of standards. So a law that's contradictory and vague cannot be enforced. And if I asked officials now, what does it mean? They can't answer me. So at the end of the day, I think you as a parent must choose a curriculum that's in the best interest of your child. According to the Constitution, the best interest of children are of paramount importance. And that's the criteria which you should use for your choosing your curriculum.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. This is quite a lot. When parents don't like the system, the education system that maybe the government or the state has rationalized for its country citizens, what are some of the, I don't know if it's subjects that they might exclude so that they don't have to teach, which I'm assuming might be one of the reasons why they would choose an alternative curriculum? Maybe just touch base on what the reasons for even wanting to have an alternative education system would be.
Yeah, I think you will find the government ideology in all subjects of the national curriculum. So you will not totally get away from government ideology if you oppose to it. But I think that the subjects in which the government ideology is more intense are subjects like life orientation and arts. So if you want to broadly follow the government curriculum but leave out those subjects, that would be a safer option. But you can also still do those subjects, but just do totally different contents and skills to cover the subject.
When in South Africa, for example, because we've got a terrible pass rate system, with an alternative homeschool education curriculum, does that also change? Instead of the minimum being 30%, you can do what you want and say no, we're going to make it 50%, for example, or 60. I don't know if there's such, maybe 60%, the pass rate for your child, or does it have to be regulated the same way that the national government does it?
In home education, pass rate is totally irrelevant. In a school system, you got to progress according to the
marks,
the pace that the school system sets. So you must master certain subjects in skills within a year, and then you get assessed and you get a certain mark. And depending to that mark, you will be progressed or not progressed. But if you are progressing at your own pace, then you will not progress to new content once you've mastered the old content. And then a pass rate is irrelevant because you do not finish a grade in a specific prescribed time. So having a pass rate is irrelevant if the child progresses at his her or her own pace. Yeah.
But in terms of like how work is done, do they also still do SBAs? Do they still get assessed like tests like they would in a mainstream school, or is it a completely different way of learning?
It's not a different way of learning. The thing is, in home education, there's a a one-to-one relationship between the parents and the children, and the parents know what skills the child has mastered. So there's no need for assessment. If you know where the child is at, why do an assessment? The assessment is there so that the third party can know how far has the child progressed. But if you're working with the child directly, you know where the child is, there's no need for an assessment.
Very interesting. I don't know, what's your take on homeschooling as an option for education? I'm learning a lot, and if you like, my child is struggling at school, hey, maybe you want to consider this, because they learn at their own pace and they don't have to have the anxiety of, oh my goodness, we are going to be writing exams. I mean, we've got a lot of questions that we need to ask, right? So we can understand a little bit better. Have your say weigh in the conversation. Our WhatsApp number is +2773 470 3520. I'm speaking to Bowie van der Alms, who is an education advocate, who is serving as currently South African homeschoolers. And I mean, what a beautiful conversation. I'm excited. I'm learning a lot. I've got so many questions. I wish I had more than 30 minutes with you, because wow, I want to ask so many questions. Okay. So, you mentioned that parents can get tutors or whatever it is, because I was going to ask, does that mean you have to be like a super smart parent, then keep your kids at home for education? And maybe if they do get tutors and stuff, is there certificates, I don't know, that parents need to have, or the tutors need to have, or some kind of registration for them to, like teachers have says? Do they need anything?
Okay, to do home education, the only qualification you need is that you need to be the legal parent or guardian of the child. You see, if you get a child and you register that the birth of that child, then you are the parent or guardian of that child. Then the law deems you as parent as capable to care for that child. And since education is merely an extension of childcare, in effect, you are capable. But on top of that, research has shown that there is no correlation between parent qualification and educational performance of homeschooled children. So there's no reason why children should be, or parents should have certain qualifications. Yet my wife did study a teacher's qualification, and she said it's actually a disadvantage, because you are taught to operate in a school environment, and that is often not applicable in the home environment. And then the other thing is when a teacher stands in front of a class and teaches the children something, then that teacher is perfectly prepared for the lesson, and she tells it, and they must just listen. But a parent might not always be that prepared. So maybe the child asks a question, the parent doesn't know what the answer is. Then the parent goes and finds out, and they get the answer to the question. So then that child has not only learned the content of the answer to the question, but the child has also learned what you do to find the answer. And that makes home education very effective. And another point is, if you look at the success of education, a key success factor of education is the personal relationship between the learner and the teacher.
Yeah, that's important.
And that is a major advantage that parents have above teachers, that trumps all the qualifications and knowledge that teachers might have that parents might not always have.
Oh, wow. So I guess then, with your people who have done homeschooling, the beauty of that is you are able to see my child's reading skills are on par with maybe in international standards that are appropriate, as opposed to the school system. The school system is a bit corrupt. We know that, and I like how you were using the words progressed, right? Children are moved, not always promoted, but they moved. It's just a different word to condoned, to the next grade, whether or not they are ready for that grade. Parents are happy. Oh, my child passed, but the child has 30s and 40s, and they get to high school and it's a shock. You know, this child does not know how to read and write. What happened? They passed 8 years of schooling. But they never really passed. But in homeschooling, because you also care, you really, and you're not dealing with a class of 60 people. You've got, I don't know however many they are in the home. So that's also at a minimized level. I think that's really beautiful. Okay. Then is it possible? Okay, no, in matric, what happens? I don't know if you call it matric, because you did say that you use different curriculums. So you might be using a curriculum where it's not necessarily matric, but what happens in the final year of study?
Yeah, so you can't get away from matric. So
Okay.
a matric is a type of qualification that you need to show that you have achieved certain milestones in your life. That is necessary for access to tertiary education or to work. So homeschoolers also do a matric, but they can choose. They can do the national senior certificate from the government, but they can also choose between international matric options like a Cambridge matric or the American GED. So yes, homeschoolers have to do matric, but some of them say, I'm too busy for a matric. I'm busy building a business. Matric has got no value for me, and they don't even do a matric. So there are lots of choices.
And things still work out for them,
Yes.
regardless. Because I mean, education is quite political.
Oh, yes. I can remember an official from the Gauteng Department of Education said, education is a political game. And that's why the government is involved in education, not because they care for your children, because it's got political benefits for them to ensure that the next generation will vote for the current government.
Sure. It's very scary. And I wish parents could also just, learn what's really happening in the space. A lot has changed over the years. Not everything is good, and that's unfortunately the reality. So then they can then pass their matric, go to university, and still cope like everyone else who comes from a main school education. Are there certain disadvantages to homeschooling that might be not noticed at a young age, but later in life in the children?
I think that the research shows that home learners cope fairly well in society, and they fit into society and they are successful. Some universities in the USA, especially, prefers home learners above school learners because they're more independent thinkers and so on. So the researchers, they cope well. But because they're not following the usual path, it's sometimes a bit more. They have to jump through a few extra hoops to get into a university, maybe. And I think the big disadvantage of home education is that parents now take full responsibility for the education of the child, and that is daunting for many parents. I think that is a challenge for many parents.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would be scared, There are things that I wouldn't mind teaching, but I'd be like, yo, physics and maths and stuff, you need that thing, but I can't teach that. And so you have to constantly look for the right people who can give them appropriate and enough adequate information so that if this child wants to become a doctor, they don't have gaps in science or in mathematics or whatever, for whatever future studies that they might want to do. So that is quite scary to think that this child's life is literally in your hands. If you don't teach them what is going to be beneficial 20 years from now, you kind of like to blame.
I think we must keep in mind that our education system, its origin, the school system, its origin is from the industrial age. So it's already 2 centuries old. So the current education system is not applicable or appropriate for our current new world. So, our curriculum that we've currently got is is more than 20 years old, and the world has changed over the last 20 years.
That's true.
So I think home education is something that happens in the real world, because parents live in the real world. They have got to make an income from the real world, and they educate their children in the real world. While in a school, you are sitting outside the real world and learning how the real world works using a curriculum that's 20 years out of date, and a school system that's more than a century old.
That's a really good point that you make, and I really do appreciate the fact that there is a lot of critical thinking that will come from children who come from a homeschool environment. My fear, personally, is it not possible then to continue inculcating certain because if you're teaching whatever you deem appropriate, and I guess even in the school system, to be fair, that is a choice that they have to make about what do we deem as important, what are we going to regard as maybe not necessary for this, I don't know, whatever range of time in our studies in school. If certain things are not taught, maybe there would be a high level of intolerance or maybe stereotyping or those kinds of issues, because you choose maybe not to include that in the curriculum. Do you think that is a good idea, or would you say still pass over it? I'll give you an example. Let's say you're Christian, you don't believe in evolution, so would you I'm not going to teach evolution at all, or we're still going to touch on evolution, but we are going to juxtapose it with creation?
Yeah, I think Christians should be apologetic, not in the sense that we have to ask for excuse, but we must be able to defend what we believe.
Yeah.
And if you are able to defend what you believe, you must also understand the doctrine of your opponent and know how to defend against your doctrine. So if you teach biology, you should obviously teach the children that God has created heaven and earth and everything, but there are people that don't believe that, and the evolution people, and then you explain why that is incorrect. Then your children will be capable of defending what they believe in the real world.
Yeah, that's very true. I like that. So if someone wants to tutor kids who are homeschooled, in your organization, I don't know how you guys work. How do people? Is there a way that people can get involved in? Hey, I want to be a tutor for homeschooled children and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yes, our website isahomeschoolers.org attempts to be that starting point to empower parents. So we provide general information about home education that covers all these questions that you've got. We've got a WhatsApp channel which keeps you up to date of what's going on. And we provide advertising space for people that provide curriculums, and then parents can choose from there. We've also got links to support groups where homeschooling parents come together and help each other. So we try to empower the parents to help themselves. And we provide a consulting session that as you feel yourself, it's a daunting thing, you're very uncertain. So we can have a personal consultation with you, and you can ask all your questions so that you know how to start with confidence and peace of mind.
Yeah. You guys have been around for over 20 years, ne?
Well, the website Isa Homeschoolers started in 2010, so that is now 15 years. Yeah.
Is that when you guys became a community to protect and help parents?
No. That is just when I've been involved in home education organizations since the year 2000, but that is when we started the specific website. Yeah.
It sounds like a very beautiful career. It sounds very enticing, especially given the fact that I think a lot of, I don't know, I think parents who are knowledgeable are seeing some of the stresses maybe within education, definitely people who serve in education on the ground, they can see the issues. And sometimes you wonder, oh my goodness, like the future here is not looking that bright, you know? So I think what you guys are doing is really different. And I think it's nice. It's a beautiful way. And I don't know if you feel empowered by the Bella Act. You mentioned that there's a lot of contradictions. What are you, as a final thoughts, maybe for 2026, how do you think homeschooling would be impacted? Do you think they're going to find a way to make it difficult for people to be independent homeschoolers in the future, in the near future, actually?
I just want to make 3 comments about the Bella Act. It's so the Bella is the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act that amended the current Schools Act. In essence, the Article 51 of the Bella Act that deals with home education is fundamentally flawed, because it takes principles from the Constitution that were written for institutions and tries to apply them to families. And it's because of that error of categorization to treat an individual like an institution that the law is going to be difficult to enforce. So, and you can see that government mainly relies on fear. They've made said, oh, if you're not registered for home education, then you can get a jail sentence of 1 year.
Yeah.
And they use that fear to make parents to comply voluntarily out of fear. But they don't have the administrative capability to enforce this law. Okay. And if they try to enforce this, it will be very difficult, because it's fundamentally flawed, as I explained already. And I think we as Christians, we must just listen to the Bible that says, do not fear. You as a Christian, you must act according to your conviction and transfer your values to your children. And the Bible says, do not fear. If you do the right thing, you don't need to fear.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Bowie. It was lovely to have you. I learned so much from you this morning, and wish you well for the coming future. And hopefully we can have conversations again, because this is what we do here, and education is one of our core interests. Have a beautiful Sunday service. I can see you at church. Enjoy yourself, and many blessings.
Thank you very much, Millicent. It was nice talking to you.
Amen.
Adventist World Radio, SID Media. We are not general practitioners. We are specialists.